Hi and welcome to the Two Shop Talk, and this episode would be additional episode to the one where we talked about how you plan big pieces and big like fronts, sleeves and all that stuff which is suggested by our viewer. This time it will be more specific. It's how Carlos plans his big projects, so it's from consultation to end result. So we will talk sleeves, back pieces and whatever you done more on the bigger side. So let's start. The first one, you have a customer who's like, hey man, I like your work, how about we do a sleeve? So what's the process?
I ask him, hey man, do you have any reference? And if he says yes, then he shows me the reference. Then we talk out straight. When he's in the shop, we talk about layouting things. In front of him on a paper, I think about where object's gonna be, where it's gonna be placed. And I'm trying to figure out right on the spot while I'm talking with him for 10-15 minutes.
Or her.
Her.
Or avocado.
Yeah. We agree with some ideas, we agree with something. It's not necessarily like precise idea, it's just like the vision of mine that comes straight. We agree with it, we book the time. I tell the customer I will show the design on a appointment because I don't want to send multiple times to customer to show him the design and he's like, no, change this small thing, change that small thing. Usually when you make a design like a entire sleeve, there is purpose why all these things are placed in these areas, so changing these small things would just ruin everything, and I think it's easier to explain to the customer when he is on the spot.
Plus, if they booked a sleeve with you, they probably know what they're getting into.
Yeah,
it's not like they are completely out.
Unless the shop books some guy who comes in and who don't care.
But then they don't care.
Who don't care which tattooer is tattooing. But he wants elephant that looks smart with no glasses on. Because there is situations like, I want a camel that looks like he's thinking deeply about life.
Two options. I don't know if you have them, but there are people who want sleeve with this and that, and then there are people who want sleeve but they don't know what. But I like your stuff, I just want a sleeve.
Yeah.
So how do you approach
Similar. We open computer, we go through some ideas. I'm just running on some new ideas. What could this guy get? And we check some old school traditional designs on internet or on my phone. I show him some of my work. And we agree with some ideas, and then again I make a quick idea sketch for him to kind of feel,
or her,
or her to feel the vibe,
or zen,
or them, or zin. I take from the customer all the information I need, like a police officer almost, or a doctor, and then I go home and I start to do research. I start to check what is the best to do with this motif, and from there I start to sketch up. I usually make smaller design, and then when the design is ready I go to the shop and I print out bigger size of it, actual size of it. When customer comes to see the design, most of the times the customer is really happy for what I made, but there have been times where customer is not sure, and then I usually play that other move where I'm telling him, okay, I feel the design, I love it, how I made it, I really want to do it on you, and if you are not sure, let's just put the stencil on and maybe you're gonna see a little bit different, because when the design is on the paper it's kind of flat, and when you draw something for a round thing it's never gonna look the same as it looks on the paper. That's why it's good for a person who wants a tattoo, get the stencil on design so he can feel it better. He can go to the mirror and move these parts which is meant for moving, and he's like, yeah, let's do it, I'm ready to pay. This is the steps that I do for sleeves.
Let's say we talked in an overall episode about symmetries and whatnot. Somebody wants a back piece or a chest piece, they come in and they like your style, but their references are those super symmetrical first page of Google things where it's just really half and half.
For example, like these geometrical lion faces with that work in it.
Whatever, it's just it's super symmetrical, super easily, super popular design, but it's done million times and you're like, sheesh.
Yeah, I know. Well, like,
And it's also not good for customer because you don't want to be another copy of the
yeah.
same.
Well, sometimes customer don't know things, and that's why you have to just be honest and tell him. And if, like, I learned this during the years, I just felt unhappy when I just didn't do it and just made a tattoo. But actually, I believed that this will not work, and I did it anyways because I was afraid to tell my customer, hey man, maybe this idea is not as good as you think it is, and let's change a little bit. Let's maybe change a little bit the angle. Sometimes symmetrical stuff works really well. You have to check how the back looks. Maybe it's really with some weird angles and shapes, and then that symmetrical will look completely crooked. Sometimes it works.
Or that
Like,
symmetrical
do
can
the
make,
face scan. No.
can make body look off.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
You put something symmetrical and then like one shoulder is bigger and one.
You can actually make a design fit that, even if the body is Quasimodo style, you can still make it fit the design if you work properly. It's just hard to do symmetrical work for all the muscles, even if it's like one side is higher than the other one for the back, you know? Like these.
How do you
Injury.
explain that first page of Google is not a good idea?
Because everyone is doing it. Everyone is bringing these references. Sometimes I feel like people don't know, like they bring this reference, they think they are the only ones who found this. But it's like the most common thing. Everyone is bringing the same kind of thing. And if you're gonna like make it what customer asks, like this exactly from Google, I love it, you're gonna be ending up copying million times same thing.
I found that people think that because they found the design, they almost feel like they designed it. I'm like, oh yeah, this will be on here.
But mostly it's just they don't know any better. They really it's super small world for them, and that this is why you have to work on talking with the customer and explain situation, and you have to be honest and you have to know what's going on, you know.
And from customer's side, you also have to listen to tattooists. They don't want to talk you into bullshit. They don't want to do a bad job. So it's not like you think you spent this many evenings looking for that perfect reference picture, but there's 7 billion out there like you browsing same internet. So probably not 7 billion, but let's say 2.
Usually when customer comes to some artist, you go to a guy who does that all the time, and if you're not gonna let him do his job, it might, like you said, it might go wrong. Just because you think it's looks good doesn't mean it looks good. And if you go to that guy and you choose him to do his tattoo, you have to trust him, otherwise don't get tattoo from him.
Or sometimes there's those situations where like I can do it like this, but I would recommend to have it like that. And then if you are disappointed in that situation, you're like, then it's on you.
Well, you have to be nice. You can't just. If you're not gonna be nice on a customer, he's not gonna probably listening to you, and he's gonna be upset. Be nice. Be honest. I say no to things that I believe will look bad. Rarely I do these things these days, because that feeling I have after I'm done is not worth that money I get from the tattoo. I rather let that customer go away, and it's not on my heart. So this is how I live.
If it goes with small things and it's not like, you know, life ruining experience, I'm like,
Small
well,
things
if you
are small things. You don't even plan small things.
it's like
It's
if you
like
if you want it, like I can only recommend. And then
like small things are hard to plan. It's not for planning. It's like when someone asks me, I want this script. Should I have a consultation? No. You come to the shop. We book the time. You come to the shop at the appointment, and we figure this out on the spot.
You mentioned that like you prepare design for a session, which is all right. We also do that here. Obviously, we book enough time, so if there's some minor changes, we can do them on the spot. But we tell to customers that when you get that vibe, we're like, oh, draw something for me, and I'll think about it. It's like, no, you first figure out what you want, and we are that last stage. Like you have your references, you looked into portfolios, you know what you're getting into it, and we're doing it. We're not like, because often designing takes quite a few hours, you know, if not days, because you draw, then you redraw, then you have this and that. Bouncing those ideas there and back, it's basically waste of time for everyone. So I often advise that, like, no, you first figure out and then we proceed from there, because otherwise it's very not productive. And
But this is mostly for traditional tattooing, for tattooing where it involves
you have
custom designing.
when you have to spend time actually
Yeah.
making the
Yeah.
design, not piecing two things together.
This is not about
On the small things, I would say, like, come in and we just do it and you don't plan them. But again, like we talked in a previous episode about the overall designing things, that you still have to not plan it, but plan ahead, not to put it in the way of something, because it can be small design placed randomly in the middle of a big place, and then when customer comes to you and like, oh Carlos, I want the sleeve from you, but I have a little cross and little text here, you're like, oh.
yeah. Yeah, and it happens.
I like when customers give you full trust, but they do a sketch themselves, but they can't draw, but they have this pen drawing, like, you know, they even sometimes put like a circle, that's a rose, that's a rose.
Yeah.
Like, they squiggle something, put an arrow, that's a banner, and you're like, yeah, now I get
Yeah,
it.
I remember.
So that's how you do it. It's good that people have prepared. If they not, but they sign up for you and they like your work, they know what they're getting into, so they have to trust you.
Yeah, and everybody part is kind of similar with the preparing. It's just the design making is different. Sometimes you have to do it, you have to try new things, you have to try, sometimes you take a picture of the shoulders, sometimes you don't, sometimes you make smaller designs, sometimes bigger. Eliminate your time, yeah? Make it as
Efficient.
as possible. Don't spend too much time on. One thing I learned is when you do a design and you sketch over and over again one thing and it doesn't work, just leave it. Try new thing. It's always, for me, always works. When you leave something behind that doesn't work, don't try to push it out. Something that leave it, start from new again, and it's gonna be less time consuming than normally.
Or wasting.
Yeah.
And if you are that realistic tattooist who's complaining that you are spending too much time making a stencil for that lion that half of population has, then you will find it useful to check this video where it's how to make an easy stencil using photo editing. Everything else must be left in a comment section. Press likes to the video, subscribe to Carlos's channel, this one, press likes. See you in a future episode. Bye, thank you for watching.
Love ya.
Peace.
Tattoo Shop Talk.